It's Dean Legge checking to see if everything is rolling here. And I really can't tell, to be honest with you. It is Tuesday night. That means Dean Legge show is up and out and Adam, Georgia traveling to Missouri here this coming week on Saturday. And the Bulldogs are still a solid, let me double check and see. The Bulldogs are a solid, let me make sure this is going out to Twitter. As usual, Twitter driving me crazy. It should be working, and I can't tell if it is for the Twitter world, Twitterverse. I'll tell you what, I have had more trouble with Twitter on this thing than anything else. I don't think Georgia's going to have this much trouble with Missouri. It's not going on Twitter. Give me a second here and I'll be right back. I'm not really sure why this is not, at least I can't see it on Twitter. Let me check my phone and we'll get back to what's going on. Certainly acting like it is trying to go. It's pretty annoying for it to sort of work. We need it to work, not sort of work. So I may be doing this again, which has become a theme here. You know what? I'm not going to do it again. We're just going to do it on my phone. Twitter, we're going to get you figured out at some point here. And everybody else, we're not going to stop streaming. We're just going to keep rolling. So YouTube, I think we know, is working functionally. YouTube always works. And I know y'all don't care about this. It actually does matter to me. It's important. And I can't, you know, it's really annoying, but what can you do? What can I do? Very little. Very, very little. Let's see here. Oops. And I'll probably get knocked off here at some stage, but that's all right. We're going to try to roll on through. I apologize for a 2-minute delay. That was ridiculous. What can I say? I've got friends of mine sending me stuff about soccer. I guess it's a big soccer night or soccer day. Dean Legge, Dog Post. We are streaming to you here. Thankfully, I think it is working now suddenly on Twitter. I've got to figure out my settings here. I apologize to the Twitterverse. Y'all are not going to be getting every single thing that everybody else is in terms of graphics, but I think you'll survive. You are seeing our wonderful, and I'm not over-exaggerating there, our sponsor, Bank South, who helps us to travel to these games and put on these shows, albeit me not doing a very good job technologically putting them on, but we'll get there. It's fuzzy. That's probably because my phone is fuzzy, but we'll just have to, we're just going to have to keep moving on here. All right, looks like everybody, generally speaking, is going to be ready to go for this Saturday's game. Georgia and Missouri, again, a 14-point line. Let me double check the line real quick too, to make sure. You know, if people are saying it's fuzzy, it's totally possible it should not be fuzzy anymore, but that's okay. I'm not aware that there's some issues further with DeAndre Swift, and so far as I know, he is going to be ready to roll and play. So that was yesterday. That was handled. Now I don't know if Kirby and them have some sort of new update on that. Today he didn't seem to discuss that very much. So I'm anticipating all of the traditional starters being ready to roll with the exception of Andrew Thomas. And we'll just see when Andrew gets back. He's obviously a very important part of this system at Georgia. And, you know, it's too bad that you don't get everybody all the time, but that's what happens in football. You're going to have injuries, etc. So, you know, not much that can be said about that. This is not an overwhelmingly challenging game on paper. I mean, Georgia, I've been out there several times to Missouri. It's not a real tough place to play. If you didn't have Drew Lock, for the Tigers. It'd be kind of tough to rationalize people going sort of in a panic about this game. But Georgia is a 2-touchdown favorite, which gives them, if you read anything on Dog Post, I get a lot into percentages of possibilities for wins, etc. And that would give Georgia a pretty healthy percentage chance to win the game, something around 87, 86% to win the game. So that is a significant line, a significant number, and 87% chance of doing anything is a pretty high percentage. I just think Georgia should go and handle business. We'll see. It's not always the easiest thing on earth to predict these games. Obviously, it's a lot easier to predict them than for me to set up my streaming situation here. I've tried this several times. I know everybody here is getting annoyed with me talking about it, but what happens is most of the day I'm busy doing stuff that I need to do during the day, and when the time comes to get this going correctly, I feel like I've got it done correctly, and then it freaks out on me. But I'm going to continue moving on with the broadcasts. Obviously, they're very clear on YouTube. That's not an issue there. But on Twitter, there seems to be a real problem. So nothing I can do about that. This is an important game for Georgia for sure. A game that you've got to win this game. This is not a situation where you're sort of allowed a pass. They definitely need to win this game. They've got plenty of opportunity later in the season if you want to drop a game. I mean, nobody wants to lose a game. But if you want to lose a game, this is not the one to lose. Yes, it's on the road, but you're a significant favorite. You're not playing a ranked team. There's all sorts of stuff going on. I mean, we're going to take a look real quick here at the preview. If you're on YouTube, you can see this. Georgia, number 2 Georgia is playing at Missouri. It will kick off at noon Eastern time, but that does not mean that does not at all mean that it's going to be anything other than morning in Missouri, Show Me State. It's going to be early. I mean, the last time this game was an early game at Missouri, they played there twice at night, which was 16 and 12. In 2014, which was really Mark Richt's best job coaching, I think, or at least one of his best jobs coaching. That game was at noon, and it was the reason why that game was at noon was because Georgia had already played a game the week before at Arkansas, so they went across the South, came back. That turned out to be a 4 o'clock game. Now wait, now I'm getting them confused. Missouri was at noon, and then they asked for the Arkansas game to not be at night. So that's sort of what happened in that situation. It was a that 2014 season was a blur for sure. Here are the Bank South keys to the game. Talked about this Sunday night. First of all, if you can defend the run against Missouri, excuse me, if you can defend the run against Missouri, no matter how well they can pass the ball, and they can pass the ball well for sure. Drew Lock is a very good player, a first-round guy, but if you stop the run, it's always difficult to throw when you got to throw. And I think that's something that you want to establish, is that you are not going to allow them to run ever. Secondly is slow down Drew Lock. I mean, he has had a good start to the season. Missouri is 3-0. He has run up a 9-1 record over their last 10 games that the Tigers have played. I'm not sure the last time Georgia gave up 300 yards passing. It was probably against Auburn, probably against Oklahoma. I would have to go back and look. But it's not a common thing. So if you give up 300, in the air. That would be a pretty big number, particularly with this secondary at Georgia being as good as it is. But you do want to slow him down. If you can keep him to 270 or fewer yards, I think that would be adequate. And of course, maybe we should be talking about when these yards are happening. If you can take them and if you can are preventing him from having 120 yards, if you have 150 yards or fewer in the first half of the game, you're probably doing okay. At least it's not the end of the world. So you want to slow them down. And then the big thing, I mean, this is really the biggest thing more than anything else. Missouri really has a hard time, or they have traditionally had a hard time on defense. And this Georgia team is probably the second best offense in the league behind Alabama, who has scored 50 points a game, 3 games in a row. And before you start with but Alabama hadn't played anybody, I get that. That's fine. Georgia's played 2 cupcake games as well, and they played 1 conference game on the road, just like Alabama. So they are in the same ballpark. Alabama's just scoring more. So the problem, of course, they're not playing each other this week, but as the Bank South Keys to the Game points out, score again, score at will. It's hard for me to think that Missouri, over a year, or what has it been, maybe 10 games since the two have played one another, that they have improved their defensive situation so much that they will stop Georgia along the way. I mean, I think if the game's a shootout, that maybe favors Missouri a little bit, but it doesn't favor them so much. I mean, if anyone who's been watching Georgia go up and down the field against, Austin Peay first week, South Carolina the second week, and then, Middle Tennessee this past week, they know this Georgia team can really score. There's no question about that. And it's just a matter of time, it feels like. To some degree, some concern, I guess you could say, about DeAndre Swift. I don't know how much concern, frankly. DeAndre did not play a lot this past game, but Elijah Holyfield certainly looked completely fine. I mean, here's some images of Elijah running through Middle Tennessee. This Georgia offense has been really, really good. Georgia totally has given up 24 points on the season, which is not exactly a lot. Another thing people are kind of getting antsy about is the pass rush. Middle Tennessee got the ball out of their hand very quick, and South Carolina sort of seemed to do the same thing. The 1 sack Georgia's had the entire season came against South Carolina on the road, so that's not ideal either. They have faced so offenses have just sort of changed, generally speaking, in college football. You're not going to get as many opportunities for sacks, but it is something that raises your eyebrows when you see that Georgia has not recorded more than a sack the entire season. You've got very good pass rushers too. I mean, DeAndre Walker is an exceptional pass rusher, and they have not rushed the passer and gotten sacks. They've rushed the passer, and remember again too now, and I'll the way that Georgia deals with it is that you've got a pocket, and you're wanting your quarterback to step into the pocket, and Georgia basically, if you're seeing my head here, what Georgia wants to do is slowly close in around the quarterback and from the thumbs as well, so that they cannot step into a ball, so that they do not have clear passing lanes. The pocket is a really important comfort zone for a quarterback that's a solid quarterback like this kid is. So if you can squeeze it, we all get claustrophobic no matter who you are. And when the walls start closing in, it's a difficult thing to deal with. I mean, and the biggest thing that I was always taught in sports, but particularly in basketball, the one thing that you wanted was space and time. So if you had time and space, you could do anything you wanted to do. If someone was all up in you, and I'll leave off the last part of it that we used to say at Coker, but if someone's in your whatever, that means that you have no space and time. It's hard to do what you want to do, and it becomes complicated to execute offense. So that's something we really took pride in at Coker, was we're going to defend you. We might not be able to score a ton. When we scored okay, it wasn't unbelievable. But defensively, we wanted to play games in the 50s or maybe the lower 60s if you're basketball, if you're scoring a few more points. So that means just like Georgia, that would be like the equivalent of Georgia saying, we're okay to play this game in the teens. Now, they're not going to play it in the teens because Georgia's going to score too many football points. But for us in basketball, we wanted to get in people's faces. We wanted to wave at them, which means we would play a bunch of people, get them in there, and beat them up inside if we could. We got beat up inside plenty too. So it's the same general principle, is to be in people's faces as much as you possibly can be. And if you're crowded, you can't see what's going on. If you can see what's going on, it's much easier to perform as an athlete. You never wanted to be pressured if you could help it. So the question is, how do you pressure? There's been some cases, and Kirby can defend his own defense, and this is starting to sound like I'm just defending their situation. They should have more than one sack, but with Bentley, maybe not, but these other quarterbacks, you don't want to let them get out of the pocket and start running around. I mean, that has become the new quarterback thing, where you get guys, they're much more athletic than they were 15, 20 years ago when Mike Bobo and Peyton Manning were in the pocket. These guys can get out and run a little bit, no matter who they are. So that's what you want to try to sort of avoid, is letting them escape the pocket. Make them deal with this defensive line in their hands. Make them deal with a closing pocket. And then let them try to figure out Georgia's secondary. It's going to be challenging. Missouri's got parts that go pretty well against what Georgia's got, and vice versa. The problem is Georgia is just better, generally speaking, with the big guys. It will wear on Missouri, even with a lot of momentum. And this game probably will not be decided in the first half. Even with a lot of the momentum that Mizzou will have in this game, coming off that, what was a big win for them on the road, kicking a game-winning field goal against Purdue at the end, it's still going to be challenging for them to win this game against the number 2 team in the country. So if you are not a member of Dog Post, we've had a good day today, believe it or not. So go sign up for Dog Post, dawgpost.com. It's $1 for 30 days. If you don't like it, you cancel it. You don't have to call anybody. You can call me. You can call me if you're a member. My phone number is all over the site. It's not a problem. You can call me, text me, whatever. Email me, dean@dogpost.com. Give it a shot. We have a lot of people that watch these programs, about 5,000 people a week, 5,000 to 6,000. And we're really extremely appreciative of our relationship with Bank South. I had someone call me today, a close friend of mine. He is looking around for a house. I said, it's time to call the people at Bank South Mortgage and see what they've got in store right now. We don't know what, you never know what interest rates will do. It seems like they're not going to be going down. So I would give the folks at Bank South Mortgage a call or a talk. You are not obligated to sign up for the entire year at Dog Post. It is less expensive that way. But no, you can go 1 month and choose not to renew it even if you wanted to. Most people, the vast majority, are on auto renew because they don't want to consistently sign up. No, it is a month to month. You can sign up month to month, or you can do yearly. Most people do yearly by a little bit, not about more, a little bit more than half of our audience does yearly typically. But this Georgia team, it certainly can win the national championship. It certainly has the capability of winning the conference and the national championship. But it's one of these things where there are issues. I mean, you look at the defensive line, you say, or the front seven, you say, are these guys as good as they were last year? It's hard to know for sure. They've not totally been challenged by a team that will win the national championship or could win the national championship, like Alabama. So It's a good question, but for Georgia, they are probably better offensively. Not probably, they are certainly better offensively than they were last year. Now their running backs are not as well. They're certainly not as special to the Georgia people, but they have been pretty good too. I mean, this team has run for more than 240 yards every single game this season so far. They did that last year too. A lot of this is the offensive line. There's no confusion about what's going on at quarterback. I mean, this time last year, we did not know who the starter would be in November right now last year. I mean, this was going into the Mississippi State game. Remember, this was the week going into the Mississippi State game, the fourth game. I think it was the fourth game. Yeah, fourth game. They'd already beaten Notre Dame. You know, Jake Fromm didn't look so hot in that game. It was adequate. Jake Fromm was adequate for a while. Then he picked up, started playing better. He's played pretty well this year so far. I did not like the bad throw against South Carolina, but, you know, look, you're going to have bad plays. You could have game-altering plays from your quarterback. That's going to happen. They're a quarterback. You know, there's just not a lot you can do or say about that. But this team is better on offense. They proved it. I mean, they've scored more. They scored more the first 3 games of the season this year than they did last 3 games of the last season. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. I mean, they had tougher games at the beginning of last season, but they didn't play a ranked conference foe on the road. They played Notre Dame on the road, but they didn't. You know, so it was a challenging September last year. This September, not necessarily as challenging, but certainly challenging nonetheless. I mean, you're going on the road twice in league play. You're only two of your conference games on the road already. Your only 2 conference games on the road. You're clearing out a lot of, you know, you're only going to go on the road in conference play at Kentucky. Is that it? And at LSU. So half of your road season is gone after this weekend. So you got to survive it. Georgia definitely needs to play well on the road. Clemson has definitely slowed down. And everybody now nationally perhaps is actually watching Clemson play. They're not as good as they have been ranked. It doesn't seem like to me. Alabama definitely is. Georgia is. LSU has performed for sure. So you're seeing a what's the word? Convergence in the top 10 of teams that are looking the part early. Georgia is certainly built for a long run in this season, and you're seeing now. I mean, there's concern about DeAndre Swift. You put Holyfield, you put Cook out there, you put, you know, Brian Herrien out there, Elijah Holyfield. I mean, they have plenty of running back. I wish Zamir were healthy. He is not currently. Hopefully he will be back this time next year. Andrew Thomas goes down. You put Cade Mays in there. All this discussion through the years that I've been talking about with recruiting, it is now coming to, you know, fruition, not through my hands, but through Kirby and them's very diligent efforts. I hate next man up, but it adequately describes the situation at Georgia because they can have a next man up. A lot of the schools that you're dealing with, you know, they don't have that situation. They cannot lean on that. So it's an important thing to continue recruiting the way they have. We've seen the Dog Post crew has seen everybody play live that is committed to Georgia, with the exception of the quarterback in Mississippi, the athlete in Baton Rouge, and the kid from Nashville. I saw Zion League play. He is. I get it. He is good. So, and he has certainly. He certainly has the potential to be a solid performer at Georgia. If Bank South can do for you what your bank is doing, for sure, you can go into a community bank. They give you, they'll know you. When you have, so what happens in banking is, as y'all may or may not know, you need a bank when you need a bank, and it's not always every single day. They've got apps that you can check out mortgage their mortgage situation, I would encourage you wholeheartedly to visit Bank South. They have branches in Watkinsville, Savannah. They are in Atlanta. They are definitely something that, you know, if you have banking needs, we all have banking needs, checking, savings, CDs, mortgages, etc. They are your go-to. Look, I do not vouch for things that I don't believe in. I think everybody in this audience knows that. Please check out Bank South. If you're looking to refinance, Bank South Mortgage. This is an important test for Georgia. They were not tested in a major way against South Carolina on the road. It was a game that they quickly got up 14-0. South Carolina, for all the discussion that we always hear from the Chickens each year, were not ready to play that game. They were not ready to play that game. They were not ready. Well, they may have been ready to play the game. They were not ready for what that came at them in the third quarter, and that was reality. So we'll see if Georgia. We'll see if Georgia's not going to change. This is the same team that's been there the entire time. This is the same group that works all the time. They will not stop talking about how difficult their practices are. So we will see if Missouri can stick with this team. Anyone who can score points is someone to be concerned about, but a 14-point line is a dramatic statistical moment. I mean, once you get over double digits on the road, you are a much better team in the eyes of the betting public. And people, you know, you can dismiss it all you want to, but those lines matter. I think there probably would be one team, which is Alabama, that would be favored against Georgia. I don't know about Ohio State. So we'll see what happens. To the person talking to me on Twitter, you know, look, I was the guy that told everybody to chill out about South Carolina, and I don't know if you're thinking that I'm in some sort of panic here about this game. I just told everyone Georgia's like an 86% chance to win this game. My job is to talk about Georgia. That's what I do. That's what people pay me for. I've been doing this for 18 years. I have insight that very few other people have. Do not take my directness about Georgia's weaknesses or Missouri's as some confusion about what I think will happen in this game. This very certainly should be a Georgia win. Again, they are a 14-point favorite. This would be a massive upset if Georgia were to lose this game to Missouri, and you would have to reassess things. I do not at all think that's what's going to happen on Saturday. I don't think anyone thinks that's what's going to happen on Saturday. I don't even know if Missouri, if you're a big underdog, not only do you have to sort of talk yourself into believing, but you have to have things go your way. Listen, hey, if you want to talk to me, come on over and subscribe at Dogpost. It's $1. Dean@dogpost.com is my email. It's $1 for 30 days. There's thousands of people that watch this. I cannot carry on a conversation with you. I've carried on a conversation for too long with you as it relates to this game. It's an important game for Georgia for sure. Anytime you're playing a conference game, particularly on the road, it's a challenging environment. Not as challenging as the other Columbia, not as challenging as Baton Rouge or Auburn or all these places Georgia's played. But it's on the road. You can't hear when you can't hear. I expect Georgia to go in and take care of business. Go to dogpost.com, dawgpost.com. Sorry for the technical difficulties on Twitter, etc. But I'll get it right. And until then, signing off.